Welcome back. Now, London-listed Shuka Minerals has debuted on the JSE with a secondary listing on the AltX to give it a stronger African presence. This brings the total listed junior miners to just 6 on the local bourse. It also comes at a time when the country has just bedded down its critical mineral strategy and mineral resources development bill. Company CEO Richard Lloyd joins us now. Richard, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So just over a day on the local bourse, how did the stock fare in yesterday's trading session?
Yeah, it tickled up. It was good. There was some orders actually pre-trading, which was encouraging. And through I call them our plumbing system with Straight, the shares could come through from the UK very, very quickly. You have to, when you're doing an inward listing, sometimes you have to put a deposit, as it were, of a number of shares just in case there are failed trades. Because I think in the past things used to take longer than 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
But no, it all seemed seamless. There were bids ready as I banged the drum vigorously. It all went well.
And talk to me about who's showing interest in this listing. Are you seeing more of a retail investor or more of the institutional players?
We had a mix. The pre-orders were from institutionals. We had a number of retail investors actually turned up to the listing itself. Those in the know, I guess, I've always looked, we're a UK primary listed company, but, we have operations here in Southern and Eastern Africa, and allowing South African shareholders to take part, whether retail or institutional, just seemed to make sense, because it's very, very difficult to do that from here if you don't have a UK broker, and obviously with the restrictions of your overseas sort of share trading, etc., in your overseas accounts due to SARB and the residential restrictions.
And what about the timing of this listing? What about this year made it right for Shuka to then seek a secondary listing on the JSE, and why the local bourse?
Look, the process has been in train a while. I've only been CEO for 4 months or so. We'd spent a lot of time with all of our advisors over here, so Acacia and GMI, and there was a lot of work already done. Yes, I appreciate companies have left the JSE, but it is still your primary bourse, as it were. And yeah, as per my previous comment, we wanted to allow South African investors to take part, and also to take part at what I call our base level of our current share price, which is in the UK sort of 3.5, 4p. Over here, sort of in and around the 75-cent mark up to around. Because what I didn't want to do is the first thing I did when I turned up in South Africa to have an inward listing is to say, right, oh, and by the way, we want to raise a whole load of money, perhaps at a higher price, maybe in 6, 9 months' time or whatever that might be. And I thought, look, you've got to get the institution and the retail investors over here who, let's face it, South African investors have mining and junior mining in their DNA. They understand it. It's part of what the country was built on. So I thought, look, get over here, get the company known, get the investors comfortable with what we're doing, get comfortable with the growth strategy. And then maybe later on, when the share price is a bit higher, we'll come back both in the UK and here and do a raise. And people say, you know what, thanks for that, because we were unable to take part at 75 cents to a rand, and now you're coming back to us for a raise, and I've already made a bit of money. That's kind of the rationale, I suppose. All
right, let's talk about the company's operations now, Richard. I know you operate in the coal and base metals space, of course, looking to take advantage of, the demand we are seeing for critical minerals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's the company ethos. We have the historic mine, or a mine we've had for a number of years, which, and when I'm at the Junior in Durban next week, my strapline is breathing life back into Rukwa, which is the coal mine, and Kabwe, which is our major focus up in Zambia. So I'll start with Rukwa. It's a coal mine down in southwestern Tanzania, between Lake Tanganyika and Lake Rukwa, hence the name. It produces coal for sort of power and cement works, etc. The mine hasn't been running due to funding, etc., for the last 12 months or so. Did very little last year. But the plan is, with very little capex, you're talking $135,000 to $150,000 to get the thing up and running again, get the repairs going, retest the wash plant, and bring back Rukwa to life up towards the 4,000 or 5,000 tons a month that it's capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. And are you eyeing? Oh, okay. No, you can continue.
Sorry, the second asset, which is our primary target now, is Kabwe. So Kabwe lead zinc mine is world famous. It's where the Broken Hill man, well, actually they found a whole skeleton, but only the skull remained because I think they threw the skeleton in the smelter in about the 1920s, which is unfortunate. But that operated from 1904 with Anglo-American up until the sort of 60s and 70s when ZCCM took it over, and then shut in 1995. So we have a 25-year mining license over that area, and the transaction finalizes on the 11th of June. So we have to still pay the cash consideration to the current owners of the property, and also we're just waiting for a Competition Commission final sign-off in Zambia, and then we're good to go. So that's the current resource that we know about is just under 7 million tons, running at an average of 13.3% zinc and 3.3% lead, with silver, vanadium, which they produced in the past, and you mentioned critical metals. There's elements such as gallium and others that probably, when it first ran until 95, people had never heard of. I think the periodic table when I was graduating in those years probably didn't have those elements there. I'll have to double check.
And Richard, before I let you go, you talk about, that deal being close to being sealed in Zambia. Are there any acquisitions you are looking at, particularly in South Africa?
Yeah, look, because people I think are confident that we can move quickly, it's all down to funding as well. So I'm constantly talking to various funders, etc. Already, I've been in Joburg 5 days or 4 days, and people have approached me with ideas and projects, and they know that there's external capability and we can move quickly. So yes, we've been looking at other projects here in Southern and Eastern Africa. There's a couple of others in Tanzania that got brought to me. Certainly one yesterday during the listing, or just post the listing, up near Rustenburg. So yes, there are plenty of projects here. I think they're just looking for people who have confidence to get projects done over here. Yes, there are challenges in South Africa itself. We all know that, Transnet and Eskom and all the rest of it, but the drive nowadays is very much with your own independent power ideas, and look, you got to look closely at the infrastructure. But there's so many great projects here and very, very capable people, and also, there's a dearth of probably junior miners on the various bourses, and we're hoping to change that. And the JSE are very, very pleased that we joined them yesterday. And
I'm sure the new legislation by the Department of Mineral Resources also just bodes well for the industry. Richard, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time and just sharing those insights. That was Richard Lloyd, CEO of Shuka Minerals.